and I did the interview, went well. But had I been in that building during the earthquake, everybody died. They lost 300 people. That building completely collapsed. And yeah, so it's just like
Holy cow.
I knew I got a second chance, at life, just like dodging that bullet. Because that was like fate was happening.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am so excited. My friend Trevor Williams from the Williams Key is on, and I just got prepped with your story and am blown away and so excited to hear it directly from the horse's mouth. Welcome to the show, Trevor.
Horse's mouth live. Here we go.
Yeah. So, all right, you got to give me like just the one. What do you guys do? The Williams Key. There's so much more to your story than just that product, but from what I know on the headline, give me the 1-2 on that thing, and then I'm going to dive in and find out what all led up to making this thing happen.
Yeah, let's do it. So the Williams Key is a first responder tool for making entry, opening doors without doing damage. So that's the one-liner.
I love it. And you're a first responder?
I am. I'm a firefighter. I know it doesn't look like it, taking a few shifts off between a baby and a surgery. But yes, I'm a firefighter in West Hollywood, Fire Station 8. For the Los Angeles County Fire Department.
Nice. That's cool. So what's your background? How do you get how do you get to the fire service? What's your business? Give me the early days. Like why is it that you ended up working in the fire service and developing this cool tool set?
Yeah. So I'm 33 now. I think we're about the same age. And I got my start in this world born into a missionary family. I was firstborn. And my parents were working for World Vision, which is a nonprofit, very large nonprofit organization doing emergency relief work. So I was born in Virginia, but when I was 4, we moved to Africa. And at the time, the country we moved to was called Zaire. And
what is that? Something new now?
Yeah. So there was a war while we were there. And it changed to the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Interesting.
So to this day, it's still called that. And so we were in Zaire during the Rwandan genocides. And Zaire,
and was that part of that area?
Yeah, it borders Rwanda. So we were impacted by that. And it was getting pretty rough. You'd hear gunfire at night and whatnot. So eventually we had to move from there to South Africa, just to kind of take refuge and let things cool off. And then from there, we were in South Africa about a year, and then we moved back to Zaire. But at that point, it had already changed its name to Democratic Republic of Congo.
What were you guys doing when you were there? I guess like World Vision stuff. Was that like helping people see, or was it more like religious missionary stuff?
No, that's funny.
What do they do?
Yeah, it sounds like an eye doctor or something, right?
Yeah.
No, they
missionary
do
eye doctor's office.
Yeah, they do all sorts of stuff. So like they do education, they do clean water projects, reforestation, housing projects. A lot of people know World Vision through sponsoring a child. So you can sponsor a kid their whole life to go to school and like make sure they have food and whatnot. Yeah. So a lot of times when I bring that up, somebody will be like, "Oh, I sponsor a kid through World Vision." But
interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, those are the early days, and I was very young, so I wasn't like.
Do you remember it, or was it like I don't remember being 2 years old, but like was it in your years that you kind of remember being over there?
Yeah, I remember. So I got there when I was 4 and was there until I was almost 8.
Oh wow!
And I remember going to school. I remember like there's a strong military presence in the streets all the time, so I'd see like military and guns and stuff. And there's a story that's like significant, a core memory if you want me to share it.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it. From when you were a kid over.
Yeah,
there.
Yeah, it was like we got broken into. We were coming home late at night, and our house is surrounded by a wall, and then there's a gatekeeper guy who will open the gate when we honk the horn. And as we're pulling in, 4 guys run in with like their guns and machetes and ropes and stuff. And my dad, who was driving, didn't see them right away, but our gatekeeper tipped us off. He started yelling, even though they didn't want him to. And my dad reversed out of there, and we were all, my mom was pushing our heads down to like not get hit with the bullet or something. Um,
Yeah.
Reversed out of there and left. So I do remember that. That was like, I guess, a little traumatic. We didn't get hurt, and our gatekeeper didn't get killed, so he got a raise and stuff.
That's wild. Yeah.
But yeah, they just went in there to do who knows what. I mean, at least rob us at the very least. But our house has bars on all the doors and windows and stuff. So I'm pretty
Was
sure
that kind of a common thing over there?
yeah. If you're like not, if you have a house, pretty much like you want to keep it as safe as possible. So all the missionaries had some form of security, at least a wall with like barbed wire on top and a gate with a gatekeeper. Some had like armed security.
Really?
But that's like, yeah, that's most of what I remember being down there. There's like really pretty stuff too. I got to do a safari in South Africa. But yeah, that didn't impact me into like who I am today too much. I would say like later on, we ended up moving to Haiti, the island of Haiti.
For more missionary work?
Yeah. So same organization, and in between Africa and Haiti, we lived in Connecticut for a little bit. Just like
basically same direction from going from one to the other.
Yeah. Just taking a little rest.
Yeah.
But Haiti, for your viewers, more people know about Haiti now, but back then, nobody had heard about Haiti. But it's an island in the Caribbean. It's attached to the Dominican Republic, makes up the island of Hispaniola, those two countries, and it's south of Florida, about 565 miles. So
interesting.
Poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, and just like really tough place to live.
Yeah. Were you like in the humanitarian world then, or were you still a kid when your family's moving all around, that sort of thing?
I was 12 when we got to Haiti. Wow. But at that point I could be more involved. So yeah, that was like a significant time in my life where I was like, turning into the man I am today, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So yeah, we lived in Haiti for a couple years, and it ended up having like a big event where Aristide, the president, got ousted and he had to leave the country. And then he was like mad at Haiti and paying to like supply gangs with guns and for them to cause trouble. So it got really bad, like really violent. They would like kill lots of people, and there was riots. They'd burn tires in the streets. They'd do roadblocks. So it got out of hand like really quick. And we
while you guys were there.
Yeah, while we were there. And we had to leave and evacuate. And that's how I ended up in California.
Holy cow.
Yeah, there's a World Vision headquarters in the LA area. So they sent my family there. And it was just supposed to be for like 6 months while the country cooled off a little bit. But we ended up staying here for like 2 years. And by that time I was finishing high school. I was 18. And I decided that I would stay in California when my family moved back to Haiti. And I had started to like do the Explorer program, and that's when I knew I wanted to be a firefighter. And I did the academies for the Explorer, and then the college academy, the state academy.
Nice. Is that just like through the volleys, or was that like kind of a career thing you were thinking of?
Yeah, no, it was a career choice. There are only 2 volunteer departments out here in the LA area. And I eventually got on with one of them as I was like, building my resume and going that route. But yeah, out here, like most places are paid, and Los Angeles County Fire Department is one of the biggest departments out here. And it's like a full career. Like they take good care of you. If you're somebody who wants to be a firefighter, you would love to get picked up by that department.
That's awesome.
So they're like pretty well known throughout the country, I think. I think they started the paramedic program as well.
Oh,
So
really? Oh,
yeah.
that's so it's all fire medics out there and like
Mhm.
proper. Yeah, that's cool. LA County's in my lighting world. It's not the 2448. We put some of the lights on those trucks, so I know a
Okay.
little bit about them by their fleet, but I don't know anything about them other than like some of the rigs that they have running around the city. They're pretty cool.
Nice.
So
Yeah, I did.
yeah,
I did see that you had done some work in LA County, and I was like, I wonder if it was with my department. So
that's so funny. Yeah, that's cool. So you ended up like going through the academy there though, and you were like, all right, I want to be a fireman while your folks are down in Haiti saving the world.
yeah, it took me. Let's see, about it. I could apply when I turned 18, and it took me like 7 or 8 years before I got hired by LA County. But in the meantime, I applied to 60 different departments. I was traveling
60?
60. Yeah, it was super
Holy
competitive.
cow. Yeah.
This was in like '08, where there's like hiring freezes going on. It was just like a bad time to get
Yeah.
hired.
Yeah.
But I tested for New York, Texas, Washington. I was traveling all over the place.
Oh, wow. So you really wanted to get on like a big career department.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would start anywhere, and that's why I did the volunteer.
Sure.
Did volunteer for 4 years with the city of Sierra Madre, which is out here, and now that's a paid department. So now there's only one volunteer department left, and might go paid pretty soon because that's just
Yeah, the way things
it's
go,
expensive to like live and work out here as it is. So
yeah.
it's hard to maintain a fire department without compensating the workers.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
But yeah, eventually I got picked up with LA County, and then went through. That was my fourth academy, and it was a tough, long academy. It was like 16 weeks, and yeah, it's definitely like professional, and they meant business, and they wanted the best, product, coming out of their academies. So past that, and I've been at Station 8 in West Hollywood for almost 8 years now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you were like kind of ending your school age, when did your folks move back down to Haiti?
In 2009, at the end of 2009. And wait.
So were you like
hold on,
graduated by then? And
hold on, I'm off. Yeah, I was 18. I forget what year they moved back, but I was 18. They moved back. Oh yeah, it was the end of 2009.
And if you're born in 90, which sounds like you were, because I was.
So I went to visit my family though, not long after they moved back to Haiti. So I went to visit them in early 2010, and this was a week before the Haiti earthquake.
Oh wow!
Which was like a big deal. One of the largest natural disasters in modern history. 300,000 people died. A million people lost their homes or were injured.
Holy cow.
So huge deal. And yeah, I just happened to be back there a week before that happened. I went to go do some volunteer work with the United Nations, and they were starting up a fire program. So I was like, it'd be cool to go visit my family. I haven't been back to Haiti in 5 years. I can help out. I have some basic fire skills, and I can help out get this fire program jump started, be good for the resume, and just be good to be back in Haiti for a little bit, So that's why I was in the country, and the plan was to be there for a month. And the UN, we had already worked out that I was going to be helping, but I still had to go through the formality of interviewing with them and getting my picture taken and badged in and everything. And my interview was supposed to be on the day of the earthquake, during the time of the earthquake.
Holy cow. At the UN building?
Yeah. Now,
That's
we didn't know
crazy.
the earthquake was coming, but I got there a few days before that, and I was just hanging around. So I was like, I don't really want to waste my time here. Why don't I give them a call, see if I can do my interview a day early? And so I called them. They're like, oh yeah, come on in. We'll make it work. And I did the interview, went well. But had I been in that building during the earthquake, everybody died. They lost 300 people. That building completely collapsed. And yeah, so it's just like
Holy cow.
I knew I got a second chance, at life, just like dodging that bullet. Because that was like fate was happening. And then
That's crazy. So you
you
were
know,
already a fireman at the time, and you were down there to do fire service good work, and that's when the earthquake hit. And I mean, like, but
yeah,
1 day difference, you would have been crushed.
right. I wasn't a firefighter yet, but I'd done like academies and training and
Basic.
stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Holy cow, dude. That's nuts.
Yeah, but my family
Was
has
your family okay?
a
Were they
really
there?
crazy story. Yeah, my family was there. Their story is nuts. Like they definitely shouldn't be alive. So,
What happened to
um,
them?
my mom and my two sisters had just gotten home from school, and they live in a 5-story apartment on the side of a mountain on the bottom floor. Um, when the earthquake hit, they were all inside. Um, and on that day, that's all I knew. And I was at an orphanage. My dad was at work, so we were all kind of split up. Um, when the earthquake hit, it went on for 39 seconds, which is a long time. I'd never been in an earthquake before, and this
Yeah, I
was
don't know even what it's like. Yeah.
and this was a 7.0 earthquake, which is pretty significant. And in Haiti, it's really poor infrastructure, so unreinforced concrete, overpopulation, houses built on top of each other, and it's
Yeah.
like mountainous all the way down to the ocean of just like these houses
Interesting.
built on top of each other.
So it's like primed for if something shakes around, like a little shake that might not be a big deal here would be a huge deal there.
Yeah, and they had never had earthquakes before either.
Really?
So yeah, so when this earthquake hit, I was on the second floor of this orphanage, 110 kids in this orphanage, and after 5 seconds, I was like, "Oh, that's weird. Like, what's going on?" It felt like a big Mack truck was like barreling down the road, and then after like 10 seconds, it felt like a train was just like pounding into our building, and everything was falling over. There's like cracks coming in the walls. Um, there's buildings around us coming down, so lots of like it was loud. Dust was like,
Oh, wow.
coming up. Kids were screaming, but our building stood. Like it didn't go down, fortunately, with all those kids in there. So after the shaking stopped, we like cleared out. Second floor was all special needs kids, so we like carried them out of the building, and then got everybody else out and sat in like out of collapse zones, because there's the house and then there's walls just like in Africa.
Yeah.
So you don't
So
want to
you're
be
just trying to like get in the middle of the road or get out in the field or somewhere, huh?
yeah. And then aftershocks started hitting like every
Oh, interesting.
like at least every minute for a while, and they were
Really?
big.
So like is that a common thing, or was that something? I don't know anything about earthquakes, so that's part of the deal. Is like after the first one you get more.
Yeah, but usually smaller.
Hmm.
And so these smaller ones were like 5.0, which is still pretty big. And
Holy cow.
those were bringing down the buildings that were like barely hanging on. So more and more collapses. And there was hundreds
wow.
of aftershocks over the next couple of weeks in Haiti.
Oh wow.
So this all happened, I think it was close to like 5 p.m. So it was starting to become dark. And I just waited there. Like none of the cell phones worked. All the cell phone towers went down. Plus there's like probably millions of people trying to make phone calls, and just nothing was going out. After a couple hours, my dad found me. He knew where I was, but we had no communication, and I didn't know if anybody was hurt. We didn't know the magnitude of like the earthquake yet.
Yeah, I guess when your world's cut off from cellular or whatever, it's like all you know is what's right near you.
Yeah. So yeah, we didn't know if like anybody had died, or like how big it was, or if it was just like right where I was, or like the whole country, or anything.
Oh yeah.
But he got to me a couple hours later. It was dark. He had a car, and he's like, he pulled me aside and he was like, "Trevor, I gotta talk to you." He said that he went back to the apartment where my family was, and it had completely collapsed, and there was no survivors in the apartment. And
no.
so that was bad news, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, was our family in there?" And he's like, "There's no survivors in there." Like he didn't like go and identify bodies.
Yeah,
but
you knew
it was like very
story.
obvious. Like nobody could could have like survived that collapse.
Oh, dang.
So that was pretty heavy, but I was like, nah,
Yeah.
there's no way, like, my family died, like we're in Haiti for a reason, God wanted us here, and like he would protect us, if he was going to call us to be missionaries in that country. So that's what I was holding on to. And he's like, all right, well, we'll go look for them tomorrow in the light, and we'll need supplies and stuff. So that night we went and slept at the pastor's house, which was up the mountain, and he had
Was
a
it still
satellite
standing?
phone. It was. Yeah, the mountains were
Yeah.
less affected, and like the houses in the mountains were less affected and built better. But the pastor had a satellite phone, so we were able to just call home and say like, hey, me and my dad are alive. Nobody else is accounted for at this time. But kind of give an update to our families back in the States, and it was tough. It was really tough.
Yeah, dude, I can't imagine that.
So couldn't sleep that night. Aftershocks continued to hit. And
Is
like
there fire service there? Like I've never been in a third world country, so I can't really picture like, who responds when something like that happens?
Oh, for that, nobody. Yeah, nobody.
Yeah.
Everybody was affected. There's no like fire hydrants or anything like that.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah,
no, like collapse rescue, or like I'm picturing like the Miami building that collapsed, and like had 9,000 firemen showed up from all over the world. Like,
yeah,
I assume that wasn't possible.
Nope, no, there was no response. Initially, all the relief efforts had to come from like other countries.
Oh wow!
But the airport was messed up, and we can get into that in a sec. But yeah, there's no help initially, which is why I was glad to be there, because I felt like I had my EMT, like some medical training, some fire training, some search and rescue training. I knew the language, I knew the country, like I was in the right place. And then it like clicked for me, like why I ended up in Haiti, the week before the earthquake, just
That's
randomly.
Crazy.
It was for a reason. But yeah, to finish with my family story, didn't sleep that night, aftershocks all night long. And then the next morning, as soon as like the sun started coming up, I was like, all right, Dad, let's go. We got to go like find my family and stuff. And he's like, no, we got to eat. We're going to need our strength. Like he's very reasonable guy. Like he's
you're gunning to go kick the door in, and he's like, we'll make sure we got a hydrant established before we go inside a building on fire.
And at this point, he was the director of World Vision in Haiti.
Wow. Okay.
So he was the first contact CNN had into Haiti. With Wolf Blitzer called him, and he was like, all right, what's going on there? And my dad's like, I have no idea. It's been like 5 seconds. But he held like a high position in Haiti at that time.
Interesting.
So he was well connected, and like nothing for him to do though. Immediately, like the family was the most important thing, and we had to go figure out what was going on with them. So, but the plan was go to World Vision headquarters and gather some supplies, some water, some shovels, and so we drove down the mountain. And on the way down, it's like an hour drive. Normally, it's a little bit longer with all the collapses and stuff. But there was people just like bloody and like walking with like some of their belongings like up the mountain and down the mountain, and like people didn't know where they were going.
It's like squashing probably an ant colony. It just go everywhere, right? I mean, it was
like Armageddon. Like just nobody knew what to do or where to go, and everybody was hurt, and people were lost, and it was just confusion and chaos. And I remember before we started heading down the mountain and we were eating, my dad started talking about like funeral plans for the family. And that's when I lost it. Like I was trying to hold it together until then. And then that's when I realized like he really believed like they were gone, and he had seen more than I'd seen. So like he really believed that. And I got up and kind of walked over to the balcony of this house, and like it was my first time seeing Haiti in the daylight, because I was down in the city when the earthquake happened, and then nightfall.
Oh
And
yeah.
then, so now the sun is rising and there's just like fires everywhere. Um, it was like so vivid in my mind, and you could hear wailing, and just the whole country was like in pain and suffering. And
That's crazy.
yeah, so that's when I started crying. That was my first time like crying for like Haiti and my family, and like that's when it really like hit me and got real.
Yeah.
Um, but when we got to the World Vision headquarters, we pulled in the front gate, and my mom and sisters came hobbling in the back gate, all alive, covered
Oh
in
really?
debris. Yeah, they survived.
No
Um,
way.
and they were like scraped up, beat up, but all alive. So we just like held each other and cried, and it
Dude, I
was,
bet that was the craziest feeling. With like shock probably doesn't even begin to describe it.
yeah. So it's like when you go from losing, something so precious to getting it back, it's like indescribable.
How did they like what happened? How did they get out of that?
Yeah. So yeah, they definitely shouldn't be alive. They were all together,
That's
like
nuts.
talking about the day when the earthquake hit. And
But so before it was hitting, they were all kind of all together.
yeah, which is uncommon because they get home, they split up, they all do their own thing, but they just happen to be talking about the day. And yeah, the earthquake started and the wall broke open where they were standing, and they jumped out as it like pancaked down and collapsed.
No way. So they just happened to beat it.
Yeah. And then they're on the side of a mountain, so they're like tumbling down the mountain. And then they spent the night in a tree because it's like unsafe in Haiti, right? Like looting starts right away, and
Oh yeah.
all the prisons broke open, so like really bad people were out on the loose and stuff. So they had to hide like the whole
And
night.
it was your mom and sister?
Two sisters, yeah. I had like
Two
a
sisters.
4-year-old.
Holy cow.
My mom was barefoot. The 4-year-old was barefoot, and then a 12-year-old sister at the time, and she had shoes.
Oh my
so
goodness.
she took care of all of them. We thought that my mom had broken her I think it was her arm and her leg, because she was having a lot of trouble like getting around. And my youngest sister
jump out of a building and then sleep in a tree. It's bound to happen. That's
yeah,
crazy.
and she's like in her late 40s at this point. So I know that would beat me up, and I'm just in my 30s, but my body's breaking down already.
Yeah.
The youngest kid, the 4-year-old, she couldn't see, so she had like all this debris in her eyes.
Like normally couldn't see, or couldn't see after the
after this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like so much rubble.
Oh, interesting.
So she's fine now, but like I was having to carry her everywhere, and like yeah, she couldn't see.
Is there not like you couldn't? I assume with a disaster of that scale, it's not like you could just go to the ER and get your eyes washed out. Like there's probably nowhere to go. I mean,
well, for one, the some hospitals collapsed too. So there's just like there's nowhere to go. There's like hundreds of thousands of injured people.
Yeah, so you're triaging, and a vision issue is not the same as
Yeah. And so what we did is we made our way to the United Nations, the U.S. Embassy, and and we were able to kind of like relax there. Military was coming in. The next day they got evacuated out by the Air Force.
The embassy people did?
Yeah, well, my family did. And I told my dad, like, hey, I should stay. Like, this is, I'm in the right spot right now. Like, I know the language. Like, I can help, render medical aid. Like, I know I'm here for a reason. I need to stay. And he looked at me and he's like, you're right. Here's the keys. So
no way.
And they took off, and then I was on my own for the next few weeks.
Holy cow. I bet that was an interesting time, huh?
Oh, it was crazy. Yeah. There's just so much need everywhere that I was trying to like utilize, like be the most effective with like the little time, and I'm only one person.
How do you pick? Like, how do you prioritize where you're going to have the biggest impact?
So the first thing I did was I went back to World Vision because I knew some people there, and they're like an aid organization. So I was like, all right, let's see how I can help here. And they put me in charge of food distribution, and because they had food and water and stuff. And so we took a little convoy of cars out to distribute this stuff. and we just got mobbed, like super
Oh yeah.
dangerous. People were like running us over, climbing all over the car. Like everybody was desperate. Um, and the grocery stores had collapsed too. So like people were super hungry. They had like armed guards standing on top of the rubble of the collapsed grocery stores, like shooting on sight, like people who were trying to
Holy
like
cow.
steal food from that. So food, water, and gasoline were like the high priority items.
You're probably more valuable than money at that point, huh?
Yeah, money didn't matter. Um, so yeah, we did. Yeah, we had to stop that food distribution, and I was like, all right, everybody out, like let's go. This is dangerous. Um, so we didn't even distribute the food, only a small amount of it, and we regrouped, and I was like, all right, let's plan this out a little bit better. We need like two, an entrance, an exit, like that area needs to be cleared. We need like armed security with us. We need like, I had a whole plan of like how to do this safer, and we
Were you
tried it
trying to
again.
secure the World Vision compound or whatever there, and then use that as kind of your thing, or what?
No, we didn't want people like coming in there. Like we'd go out
Yeah.
and
Oh,
distribute.
got it.
But we tried a second time, and same thing. It just got like too hectic.
That's crazy.
So after that, I'm like, all right, well, that's not working. I went and started helping with a search and rescue team that came down, and I was like, all right, cool. This is like more up my alley. And there's lots of search and rescue teams flying in. Like LA County has a international search and rescue team,
Oh,
and
nice.
I wasn't hired with LA County yet, but
So did you get
I
to meet
was
some of
still
the
an
guys
explorer, and
No way.
the shirt I was wearing was an LA County shirt when they flew down, and I saw them at the U.S. Embassy because the airport butts up against it, and we were
Yeah.
like on separate sides of a fence, and I was like, hey, come over here. And they're like, who the heck is this kid wearing a county shirt?
Some guy's already in country. Who beat us here, right?
Yeah. And I kind of explained my situation. I'm like, can I help you guys? And like, can I go with you guys where you guys are going? And they're like, nah, sorry, kid. Like, and I understand why now, but at the time I was like crushed. I was like, oh my gosh, that would have been so perfect. Like,
Yeah.
it's the department I want to be hired for. Like, I know a lot of them. Like, I've trained with them. We're in Haiti together, and like I can't go with you. Are you kidding me? So eventually, once I did get hired, I ended up on that team.
Oh, did you really? Oh, that's
yeah.
so
So
cool.
that was kind of like a full circle thing.
Yeah.
But I went around with a smaller search and rescue team, and we just pulled body parts out, like nobody viable.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we did that for a little bit, and that was like kind of discouraging, kind of sad to see, because you'd see like parents trying to dig their kids out and kids trying to dig their parents out and working by candlelight and just like bloody fingers, like no tools even. And it was rough.
Yeah, and
like,
just desperate at that point, I'm sure.
Yeah, desperate. And then they were constantly pulling out dead bodies and just like putting them in the street. And then dump trucks would come and pick up those bodies. And they eventually had a mass grave that they dug and would take 300,000 dead bodies out too.
Holy cow.
But as the weeks went on, it started to smell really bad. Like Haiti's a hot country.
Oh yeah.
So all those bodies are just like stuck in the rubble. But after I did the search and rescue stuff, I ended up joining up with a helicopter team. It was like a group of private people who owned helicopters, and they flew them down to Haiti. They had 3 of them.
Oh, nice.
And we would like pick up food from the airport, which is where a lot of food was being donated from all sorts of like different countries, relief countries. And we'd take up these bags of beans and canned goods and whatnot, and drop them all over the country. And that was like the most effective, like way better than what I've been doing.
Oh yeah, because then you're not going to get mobbed, because it's like it just lands there and it is what it is.
And way more fun.
Cow.
And way more effective. And we did have like a learning curve to it, where we did land and started to get mobbed and had to take off. I had to jump in the helicopter as it was taking off. So that was Rambo status, because we had knives to like cut open bags of beans. and like jumping in with a knife.
That's
so
funny.
fun. But after that, we started just hovering. So we'd hover, like drop the food out. Sometimes we'd hover over a river, and the Haitian
so then people couldn't grab the
but they'd come out of the woodworks and be like in the river, like, and we'd throw the food and it would kind of like disperse and like make its way down the river and somebody's gonna find it. So we knew that like
Yeah.
everybody was getting some food, you know, because people
Yeah.
would want to hoard it, but like the
Yeah.
more
That's a
people
good
that
point.
got
Yeah.
it, the
So by
better.
dispersing, it's better.
Yeah. So
That's
did
wild.
that for about a week. We would they rented a baseball field in the Dominican where they'd land their helicopters at night, and they had like security there to watch out for us, so we had like a safe place to sleep at night. And yeah, we just do that every day, and
How
eventually they
long
went
did that
home.
last? I mean, I feel like Haiti's still not even really like back together, is it?
No, it's been like 12 years now. It's definitely gotten on the map though, so a lot of money got donated. A lot of it got mismanaged, but it's I don't know if it's better off than it was. I don't think it is.
Yeah.
But the helicopter drop stuff we did for about a week, and then I worked in 2 different hospitals, and I had lost like my wallet and everything in the collapse. But when I went back to the apartment to just like check it out, it had already been looted, and somebody found my wallet and like climbed deeper in there than I would safely want to go.
Yeah.
Took my money, but like my beat up wallet was like at the entrance. Like they'd already gone through it. And
They leave
my
your ID and stuff?
uh I had an ID, but like I couldn't find my passport. But my national registry card for being an EMT was in there, and I had just gotten that. And
That's awesome.
I'm like, not that that really matters for anything, but at one of the hospitals, they had like a MASH hospital that they set up at the airport. They asked me for my national registry card when I asked if like I
You're
could
like, oh yeah, here it
volunteer,
is.
and I'm like, well, actually, and I pull it out, and it's like it has like holes in it, and like rocks and crushed it and stuff, and I like gave it to them, and they looked it up, and they're like, all right, cool, now you're a doctor, you know, like come do, you know, whatever you can. So I was like
Yeah.
helping out with amputations. I
Oh
was
wow. I mean, because
yeah,
I guess like what if you got an EMT, it's like you're better than nobody, and there's nobody else here, so go for it.
yeah, and
Holy cow.
I was like, I learned how to start IVs and push meds and all sorts of stuff that I'd never be
No
allowed
way.
to do as an
Who did
EMT
you
in
get
the
paired
States.
with? Was there like a doctor or like somebody that knew what the hell they were doing, or did?
Yeah, I wasn't just like, oh, cool, morphine. That sounds like that might do the trick or what. I wasn't making those decisions. But yeah, I was always like with somebody that knew what they were doing and
Yeah.
helping them, you know.
Yeah.
But we even like ended up taking a eyeball out of a kid because I guess if we didn't take that eye out, he was going to lose his vision in the other eye too.
Oh,
So I
interesting.
saw some really like interesting stuff that I never thought I would see.
Yeah.
And I would just work as long as possible. Like there was no stopping. So you'd like go take a nap, eat an MRE, and then like go back to
Get
work
information.
and work as long as possible. Like so eventually I
Had you
got
ever worked that
burned
hard
out.
in your? Really? Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, no, I don't think I'd ever worked that hard, but it was like there was such a need. Like you just knew that like you didn't think about how hard you were working. You just like eventually got so tired. You're like, I have to go lay down and take a nap.
Yeah.
But yeah, it helped that I knew a little bit of Creole, the Haitian language, and I was able to like really get around that way and knowing like the Haitian culture and the country and stuff. So I was able to like talk my way into all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And
How long did you stay in Haiti after the earthquake?
it was like 3 more weeks because I'd been there a week, and then earthquake happened. Stayed there about 3 more weeks, and the last thing I did was rubble removal. So there was like what wells that had been covered up by debris, and so people weren't getting like clean water or any
Oh,
water.
interesting.
So I worked with teams to like remove rubble so that wells could be uncovered again. And then
Yeah.
after that, I was like, all right, I think I'm done. Like I feel like it's time for me to go home. But I had no money, no passport. Like I had no idea, no phone even. Like I had no idea how I was going to get home. But in my heart,
Were there commercial flights out, or was it just like, nah,
there's none of that. So I was like, I'm just going to go to the airport and see what happens. And I'm going to like one foot in front of the other, like get as far as I can, see if I can make it out to the tarmac or figure out how flights work in this, current state. So I walked through security. Nobody stopped me. Kept walking, no ticket or anything. Like nobody, there weren't tickets being produced, but I just kept walking and I got out to the tarmac and there's like a couple hundred people out there with tents, just like waiting for a solution, to get out of the country. And there's like little puddle hopper planes like coming and going every once in a while and private stuff. But the airport was damaged. So like big stuff couldn't really get in there. And you'd see like military stuff coming and going and those like Osprey things. That pretty cool. Yeah. But yeah, I'm like, I don't think I'm getting out of here. And within 30 minutes, somebody came up to me and they're like, hey, we have an extra spot on our plane. We felt like we should talk to you. Do you want to go? And I was like, yeah, I don't have any money though. They're like, nope, it's okay. We have a spot and we'll fly to Jamaica or was it Jamaica or Bahamas? I forget. I think it was Bahamas, and fly to Bahamas, refuel, and then fly to Florida. So that's what I did.
That's awesome.
Within like 30 minutes, I was on a plane, which is like faster than
when you
any
landed,
airport.
Were you like knock on the customs? Hi guys, I'm back. Sorry, you can't find my passport, but here I am.
Yeah, no, same thing happened. Like I just like walked through. Like nobody checked anything on me, and I felt like I was invisible. It was super weird. I borrowed a cell phone.
Was it a good thing, or was that was it a weird thing to feel that invisible? After
no, it was a good thing. I felt like I had a path paved for me.
Yeah,
I felt like God was just like, here, I'm going to take you home now. And so
crazy.
I land in Florida. I like don't even know what city in Florida, and it's not like a big airport. It's like some private airport. Yeah. And I asked to borrow a cell phone. Call my dad and I'm like, hey, I made it back. I'm alive. I made it back to the States. You haven't heard from me in a few weeks. Can you get me a flight home? And he's like, yeah, be at, this airport by tomorrow. And still had no money. And I think the person I borrowed the phone from, they like gave me a ride. And I was like, okay, cool. And then they started hearing my story and they're like, oh, you could sleep on the floor at our hotel. We're going to the same airport tomorrow. So I did that. Awesome. And free shuttle from the hotel to the airport the next morning and got on the plane and ended up back in California. So
that is crazy.
Yeah.
So how did that, I guess, shit, that's a whole story to digest. That's a crazy set of experiences leading up to it. And then a set of experiences prior to fire service. Like it's all these things need to be setting up for ultimately this like fire service career and all this stuff. But it's like such a compelling background that naturally I feel like after that, where you knock on the door at the fire station and say, hi guys, now I really need a job. Like how did that happen?
I wish it worked that way. No. So that story is like so unbelievable that, like I had trouble like convincing people I was telling them the truth and stuff like that.
Oh, interesting.
And I was like, you can look it up. Like I was in the news and like all sorts of things. My family was in the news.
Yeah. Was that like during job interviews? You'd be like, oh yeah, so here's the story. And they'd be like,
yeah. They're like, who is this guy? Like, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So maybe that's why it took me so long to get hired. I don't know.
How long was it after you got back?
Another like 5 or 6 years.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So what happened? Like, I guess you get back, you land back in California, and then did you just, how in the world do you re-enter normal life after that type of experience and that upbringing, that type of experience, like go back to your explorer's gig? Like, oh yeah, here, I can teach you a thing or two about rubble recovery now.
Right. Yeah. It was, my head was in a different place for a while after that, just because I saw so much like suffering and, my eyes had just been open to like, I don't know, like I experienced so much in such a short amount of time. and again, I knew like my life had been spared, not being in a building that collapsed
Yeah.
when I was supposed to be. And so I came back home and I wanted to keep helping. Like my Haiti was still on my mind and in my heart. And so I started a nonprofit organization building houses for earthquake survivors.
Oh,
Um,
no way.
so as a 19-year-old, you're figuring out how to do all that and the logistics and the fundraising. And at least I had like a compelling story that I could share. So I started talking to
Yeah.
like colleges and churches and sharing my story and raising money. Um, and then got, all the 501c3 set up and
Oh, yeah. So
the
just you had to
paperwork's
figure
done.
that out kind of on your own.
Yeah, when I'd never like planned on doing that. Especially growing up as a missionary, I'm like, I don't think I want to do. I want to have my own, life and career and stuff. Um, but so the nonprofit is called Firm Foundation. It's spelled with the E at the end, so Firme. And that's the Creole spelling for strong or solid. So like a solid foundation.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
and we built 39 houses so far.
No, is it still going?
Yeah, it's still active, and it's just the last couple of years has been really, really bad. So it's been too dangerous for us to go down there. But yeah,
Do you
I,
build houses in Haiti or is it
mhm.
somewhere else in the world?
Yeah, no, it's in Haiti. Everything has
Oh,
been in
interesting.
Haiti, and part of the vision or the mission is to like stimulate the economy, create jobs for Haitian construction workers, and then get like Haitians who are homeless or like affected. Now it's like been so long, they're if if they lost their house, they probably have a place, but now we kind
Yeah.
of target like people who don't have homes, who are homeless, and give them a place of shelter.
That's
So
cool.
yeah,
That's really
so
cool.
I'm eager to go back, and I tried to go. I have a 3-month-old baby right now. I tried to go right before she was born, just on my own to like reestablish some connections, and I was shut
Yeah.
down. Like it's so dangerous there. Like all the businesses are closed. You can't go out in
Really?
public. Yeah, it's just
What's
really really
what's
bad.
going on? Why is it so messed up?
Um, there's tons of like gang violence, and I think they're constantly like just angry about the political state of the country or like gas prices or
Oh,
there's
interesting.
always something, and
Yeah.
they just make it so you can't leave your house, like you'll get killed. It's too
Oh, wow.
dangerous.
Yeah. Tough place to go.
Yeah, so I stand out when I'm down there, and I definitely can't go. Like I was hiring armed security when it was safer to go, and it was still
Oh,
not
wow.
safe
And it's
to go.
gotten way worse.
Yeah, and it's
So
gotten
it's not
worse.
like as a result necessarily directly of the earthquake that it's in the situation it is now. I mean, it's like now
No.
it's just the evolution of the population and the country, whatever. It's just it's a bad
Yeah.
situation all around, it sounds.
Yeah. So
How do
now
you
I'm
help
like,
those people now from the US? Like, is it just a funding thing or are you able to orchestrate and use creative problem solving or how does that actually work now?
yeah, that's the big question. Like, how do you help? Um, so I'm still trying to figure that one out. Like, I've been having
Yeah.
meetings and stuff and talking to different people. We have money in the bank ready to go, but you can't just send money.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't work that way. Um, so yeah, ongoing
Interesting.
problem. It's like trying to solve world hunger. It's like
Yeah.
just feed the
Well, I
people.
feel like it's a
But
hard yeah.
there's
It's
logistics
it's a
involved.
hard it's a hard question to pivot to. Like there's such a magnitude in your story and this background and this nonprofit, which sounds like, and I feel like that's such a noble cause and it's based on such good, good underlying. But I still I want to get to the meat of then. So you've got this wild story and this truly inspirational, motivational thing that makes you tick. And then somehow you ended up in the fire service and somehow a business came out of it. So I'm very interested in what was the transition like? As you're doing this nonprofit, how did the fire service enter your life post? I don't even know what to call that. Like wild times in your upbringing in this formative years. How did the fire service finally enter, and where did that come from, and how did it go?
Yeah. So let's tie it all together because there's a beautiful thing that came out of all these experiences. So nonprofit, I was not taking a paycheck. Nobody was. It was 100% volunteer.
Mm.
which we prided ourselves in, because not many organizations can say that. Like every penny went towards like building houses and to Haiti. So I had to make money somehow in LA, which is a tough place to survive.
Yeah.
So I was doing I was a carpenter. So I was doing construction.
Mm.
I started out as a teenager doing like general contracting, general construction, and then got hired with a door company, installing doors on a
Nice.
large scale. So like big colleges and fire stations, police stations, lots and lots of schools, and like oil refineries even. So all sorts of doors. So I learned how a lock works really well, in and out. I know what should be on the other side of a door when it's locked. I almost have like an X-ray vision, if you will. But there's no absolutes, right? So you don't
Yeah.
know for sure what you're getting into, but I have a good idea how doors and locks work. So I did that for a few years. Meanwhile, continuing to test for the fire department.
And you're just looking for some fire department to land in, or was it like you were dead set on LA at that point?
No, whoever would take me, you know?
Yeah.
And it might not, like I might leave and go to a better department later. I didn't know that part yet, but I'm like, I just got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, also working volunteer as a firefighter, and part-time as an EMT. So I was like doing a lot of stuff, trying to survive in LA, build the resume, stay out of trouble. With the carpentry background, I was able to like have the successful nonprofit of building houses because I understood construction.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, yeah. Perfect
So
pairing of like
skill sets. That fit together. At one point I got injured. I was in a motorcycle accident and I couldn't do construction anymore. And I spent a year doing sales for Google. So, you know, like, and I got sucked into this because I had some friends who were roommates who were involved with it. And they're like, this might be a good thing for you. Like, it's not as physically demanding. And it's just
Google sell though. I don't know if I bought anything from them.
So maybe. So here's what it was. It was kind of interesting. You know the street view, the little car that goes around and makes Google Maps, takes pictures.
Drag the van onto the map, and you can look at the. Yeah, I use it all the time at the fire station. Yeah.
So they started taking Street View inside of businesses that wanted it to showcase their showrooms.
Really?
So like car dealerships loved it. Like
so then you could Street View in and actually like see what the whatever.
Yeah,
like,
and you could walk around inside of like businesses.
That's pretty cool.
They had to pay for it, and it was only if they wanted it, and it would help them be like more searchable on Google and stuff like that. So that was kind of the pitch, and it was commission based. Like I would just walk business to business to business. They weren't expecting me. I just walk in. Hey, Google photographers are going to be in the area next week. I do the scheduling. If you'd like it, this is how much it costs, and I just put your name on the list.
No way.
I did that for about a year, and I learned really good business practices because not even intentionally. I just knew like, oh, there's a great business. I like what you're doing here. Oh, nice website.
Oh, because you were seeing all these other people's businesses. It's like firsthand stop. That's cool.
Firsthand, I'd see like how good businesses were, bad businesses. And you get a sense after you go in a couple thousand businesses, like how good businesses run, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, I was like being tech savvy, like I have a phone and an iPad and just be looking stuff up and like on the backside of Google, like just I was learning stuff. Like I was learning all sorts of techie stuff.
Yeah.
In the meantime, so and that was helping my communication skills too, because you have to like go in and talk to the gatekeeper, right? And then get to the person
figure
in
out
charge
how you're going to get to the person that can actually make this decision.
Navigate your way in there, and you know people were mean to you sometimes, and you got to like be okay with that. So it's helping me for like interview skills, firefighter public service skills, business skills, all sorts of stuff. So I really value that time, even though I never like intended on doing that. And those skills will come into play in a second here when we talk about the Williams Key company.
Yeah.
Which once I got hired, eventually got hired, I was bringing my carpentry box of tricks with me to work, because every shift it seems like we were like breaking down a door, and I knew how expensive these doors were. These are like a normal door is like $2,000, like with the frame and the door and the lock and the installation.
Yeah.
And
And you like knew exactly how to lock, where you probably had a better way of doing it than just kicking it. Huh?
Yeah, so it hurt me because I'm like, oh man, like it's fun, right? We love breaking stuff. I love the Halligan, and there's a time and place for that. But sometimes there's better ways of getting into doors, and sometimes it's even faster to not do damage.
Yeah.
So I'd made myself a bunch of tools. A crude version of the Williams key was in my box, and I ended up pulling that tool out like all the time, like almost every shift. And eventually my coworkers wanted one.
They're like, hey, you're faster than we are. What the hell, man?
Yeah, they're like, hey, can you make me one of those? And it took me like a few hours to like, make one out of a framing square. And
is that what it's made from, the first one?
Yeah, the first one, yeah.
That's so funny.
So I was like, all right, well, enough of you guys want these. Like, let me go find a fabricator and we can make like 20 of them, like small batch, and then I don't have to worry about it. So I had 20 made, wasn't planning on selling them, just like, here you go, we can all
like all the guys at work, like, yeah, here's a tool, fine, let's do it.
Yeah. And we can like stop breaking down grandma's door. Or the wrong door. Like sometimes we go on a call and it's like not even the right door. Right?
I've done that. Like show up at the wrong house. And we've got like medical calls at the wrong address. And we'll get there and be like in someone's house. They're confused. It's like, sorry.
Or, the life alert goes off and they don't even know it. And you break in and they're like having romance time, in their bedroom or whatever. Like grandma and grandpa, you're like, oh shoot. And
I'm out
they're
here,
terrified. So yeah, stuff like that happens all the time.
Yeah, that's funny. You never know what you get into with the Williams key.
Yeah, you never know. And I can, for your viewers who don't know what a Williams key is, it looks like this.
Oh, that's awesome. And for the guys on the audio version, this is it's a tool with a right angle in it. It's got a pointy end and something else. And what does it actually do?
Yeah, so this tool will bypass the locks, the strike of a door. It'll get behind a anti-vandal plate. So sometimes there'll be a metal plate in front of the lock of an outward swinging door. And the blade side, I'll grab the pink one because that's like, it contrasts better. But
oh yeah,
this is a special edition.
Nice.
So the blade side can slip behind that anti-vandal plate and toggle the strike.
And it just pushes the little, whatever you call that thing, into the door.
Yeah, the strike. And then if you can visualize that strike, you can grab it. This is like a shove knife handle. You can just grab it more easily. And then you have like some diagonal reach here where sometimes I'll grab the tip and I'll try and like hook the lock if it's like farther away. So that's how it works. And it can do some windows. It can do some panic, not all. But it's pretty versatile, and people will bend it on purpose to like reach stuff sometimes. And we sell a really big version. This is a 35-inch Magnum.
That's awesome.
Triple XL.
Well, that's awesome.
This folds up as well. We have a folding version of the small Williams key too. But
that's so funny.
I used to sell a non-folding version of this, and it was so hard. Actually, I still sell it, but I don't want people to know that.
You probably can't ship it, huh?
Yeah, it was so hard to ship, and I'd get an order and be like, "Dang it! Like I got to package
ask
this
IKEA
thing."
why they don't have couches pre-assembled, because you can't move them around the world.
Exactly. So I was gonna discontinue it, and that long one is for like big gates and stuff, or like full length vandal plates. But I was like, easy solution. I already have a folding version of the small key. Why don't I make a folding version of the big key? And then I can ship it in like poster tubes. And it's like way easier, way faster. And so that's been the solution. And I'll probably discontinue the other one. But
it's like, here's my tool for $59 and it costs $300 to ship.
Yeah.
How did it go from a thing you made 20 off your buddies to becoming a business? I feel like that's a there's a very different thought process behind, like, you're going to make one or you're going to like make a career.
Right. So again, never intended on making money off this. Just wanted to help firefighters and first responders like be better at their craft and do less damage to the public. We're public servants, right? So we're trying to make their lives better, not worse. And
Yeah, sure.
after that small batch of 20 keys were made, like word traveled, and then a lot. LA County is big. There's like thousands of personnel in LA County Fire. So like word traveled fast. We have 177 stations, and before long there was like 100 people asking me for a Williams key because they had seen, you know, the 20 that went out and were being used in the field. So I was like, oh boy, okay. I'm gonna have to charge these people.
So you just gave away the first ones, like, yeah, here they are, whatever, like, fine.
Yeah. So then I had like a batch of 100 made, and they weren't, I don't think they were powder coated yet. But pretty soon I started having them powder coated black so that I could engrave them.
Oh, and nice. So you can put like, you know, Station 8 or whatever.
Yeah. So people love engravings and customizing stuff. And I also wanted my logo to be on there because now I was like, okay, it looks like this is turning into something.
Yeah.
I made the name, the logo, all that stuff. And I started engraving on them. And then there was a guy at my station who's like really savvy with engravers, right? So he taught me how to use an engraver. He brought one into the station and we were like experimenting with it, and he had like modified it. Like he had like switched out the motherboard, and it was like from China. So like it wasn't compatible with our computers and stuff. So he was really smart. He like designed his programs and stuff, but he taught me like enough to get by. And then eventually I was like, hey man, can I just buy this off you? Cause I don't want to have to like upgrade my own and like figure this out from scratch all again. So I gave him like, I paid him a lot for like, you know, the convenience of just taking that one.
Yeah.
So I was using that, but every key I had to engrave the logo and then maybe a name.
Yeah.
And then eventually I bought another engraver, and then I had 3.
Nice.
And like I made a website, Instagram, sales started coming in, and I think it really took off like once the videos started like being seen online.
What sort of, like, is it like training videos and stuff, or more like fun marketing-y type things?
No, just like somebody using the tool on a door and being successful.
That's awesome.
So started out on Instagram, and then YouTube, and then the most recent was TikTok, and TikTok took off the fastest, like out of all the
TikTok's
platforms.
Crazy. Yeah.
And I was getting like, there's a bunch of videos on there with over 1 million views. And I was like, what the heck? This is crazy. And then I really saw like a boost in sales. Like a direct correlation to anytime a video starts trending or going viral, sales go up like significantly.
That's awesome.
So that's kind of the progression, but the initial Williams key gave me the platform to create more tools. And like once I built the brand, like it's starting to be recognized. We've sold to all 50 states, 30 countries internationally.
No way. That's cool.
Yeah. And then like military started recognizing it. Like every military branch has bought it, and the FBI has bought it, and Border Patrol,
if they're out doing stuff.
Homeland.
Yeah. I mean, shoot, law enforcement, that's way bigger than just fire. That's such an interesting idea.
Yeah. So I started seeing like the repo guy wants it now, and the locksmith wants it now.
Oh, wow.
So there's all these niches that I never even thought of before, like real estate agents and security guards and groundskeepers and janitors. And like, I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, I see where this could be used. And so now I talk to like fire chiefs all the time, and emails from like 3-letter agencies all the time. And they're getting, it is crazy. Like I never thought it would turn into what it's turned into. And
that's cool.
I've sold to 3 different Navy SEALs teams.
No way.
And
how do you keep up with like the business needs and the, like, you know, to make 1 or 2 is no big deal, but like if you're running engravers and you've got to laser cutters to cut things, you order whatever, like how do you actually, and you're a fireman, how do you manage all that?
Yeah, it was tough because um, so I outsource the fabrication, and that's done at a shop here in LA.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
and we have a close relationship. I'm there all the time.
Yeah.
And they outsource it to get powder coated. And
Yep.
eventually I don't like engraving. Like that just was a thing that kind of helped sell it. And
Yeah.
it was taking up a lot of my time. So eventually I started getting the logo screen printed,
Oh, nice.
which cost me more, but it saved my time. And I increased the custom engraving, like the names and the logos and stuff. I doubled the pricing on that. And that kind of slowed it down enough for me to manage it. So I
Yeah.
still do that part of it, but I usually wait until like I'll pick one day a week where I'm like doing all my engravings
Yeah.
and
Blasting
knock
it
them
through.
out. And then of course if I'm like at the fire station, it's not any day that I'm at work. Like it'll be an off day where I come home,
Yeah.
knock out all the engravings. Um, but I ship everything myself. We've done about 20,000 keys. Um,
Holy cow. That's
so
awesome.
yeah, it's really taken off, and I've been able to like be pretty proficient with it.
Mm.
Where I could have scaled at this point, could have like a big warehouse, lots of employees, that sort of thing. But I enjoy the personal aspect where I'm working out business deals. I have a lot of distributors too. I have like
Yeah.
16 or 17 distributors,
Oh, that's cool.
but like including the fire store, which is pretty big, and
Oh, yeah.
there's some big ones that carry it. So it definitely could have scaled, but that would really like I'd probably have to quit being a firefighter. Like it's
Yeah.
like
So that's something that I talk to a lot of guys on this show about is like, they get to a point in the business where it's like, okay, this either I'm going to go do business or I can do fire service. And sometimes, especially when it's not like I exist in the volunteer fire service, so like whatever, I do it like sometimes. But when you're in a
mhm.
full time career agency and then your business scales, like there at some point there can be that like that step off point where you have to decide, do I want to still be a firefighter or do I want to go fully into business? And it's interesting to hear how different people evaluate that decision.
Yeah. So I would never want to leave the fire service. Like I love it. I did it for free for a long time, and I'd keep doing it for free if I could, you know. Um,
Yeah.
but if anything, like let's say I get bought out for like $10 million or something like that, where I'm like, okay, I could probably comfortably retire now.
Sure.
Um, I would still not quit the fire job. Like I might work less,
Yeah.
but
Less
I
overtime, a
still
little
love
less.
it. Like
Yeah.
it's in my blood. You know, it's like it's something I just wholeheartedly enjoy. Um, I love the camaraderie, the tradition,
Yeah.
obviously helping people as a missionary. Like kind of turned me on to helping people as a firefighter because it's along those same lines. So that's
Yeah, it's
like
funny how those themes, like they feel like they live throughout your life. You've got this foundational upbringing, which is so interesting, and then you've got this intermediary time where you're figuring out good businesses and practices that worked, and sales and personal stuff, and then fire service being like this unique way to give back and still have all the stability, and then this fun. And I say fun lightly, but like this is a serious business, the Williams Keep. But it's also like, I think there are so many businesses where like I use silly bands as an example, where silly bands really has no purpose. You remember those little like bracelets kids would have, and it
yeah,
made like the two founders billionaires. But it was a business that didn't do good for anybody. It was like just a thing.
yeah,
But in your business, I think it's like, you know, yeah, grandma doesn't need to replace her door just because she accidentally hit the light filler while they were having a good time. Like that's crazy. And so like I think there's an interesting humanitarian portion of like your story that I can see in the business where it's like, this tool is it's valuable because it lets us do better by the community. And that's not just putting out fires. That could also be like not destroying their house when they accidentally hit the button. And it's a really cool tie where so many first responder businesses are like that, where the first responder mentality ends up, it's like a whole public service or give back to the community mindset. And then the business enables you to support the people that support others. And I think it's really cool. It's commendable to hear.
yeah. Thank you. And it's also fun in the like small business community. Like I was looking at some of your other people you've interviewed, and I was like, oh, it's cool to put like a face to the name, and these are just, like Corey from Crackle.
Yeah.
It's like um, it the community is small, so it's fun to be like I guess well known in that sense, because
Yeah.
you get like respected, and people come to you for advice, and like the social media thing is huge, and I'm always getting to talk to people or help people like talk through a door or just
Yeah.
whatever, or just hearing the like the success stories.
Is it weird having people come to you for like for me it's weird when people ask business advice. I'm like, oh, what the hell do you need my advice for? But like I feel like as you've grown through this thing, like now you are a business person that runs it's legitimate. So when people come to you and ask you questions about that stuff, does it feel weird?
No, I like it. Lots of people are always like, oh, I have this idea, um, you know, and they'll start telling me about it or whatever, and I was like, just go for it, like
Yeah.
if you have an idea, what's stopping you from like seeing if it's gonna work or not? Um, so yeah, people talk to me all the time, like, or they'll try and like plant ideas on me, and I'm just like, I've got way too much going on to like try for
Yeah.
another adventure. I have my own ideas all the time too, where I'm just like,
Yeah.
I don't have time for that right now. Like I got to keep focusing on. There's a lot of ways to make money, and
Yeah.
you got to pick the best ones, I guess. So
What's been something you've had to learn that was like like maybe not difficult, but what hasn't worked out so well? As you've been building this thing, obviously there had to have been some missteps or some things that were like, oh, okay, redirect. What are those like for you in your background?
Let's see. Well, I'll tell you a story that just got resolved. I'll tell you two stories actually.
Great.
One is unresolved, and I don't know what I'm going to do yet. But the one that did just get resolved, there's one. Everything is like, American company, American made.
Yeah.
But I haven't been able to get the screw on the folding key. I'll show it to you. This guy. I haven't been able to get this screw from anywhere but China.
Interesting.
And the last order I placed, and there's only one company that could do it for me. They're like, hey, we stopped making that screw. You're gonna have to place like a really big order in order for us.
High MOQs, the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So they wanted, I guess I won't share my profit margins, but it's like it's equivalent to $40,000 retail value in screws.
Holy
Is
cow.
what they
Yeah,
wanted
that's
me
not
to
a little
order.
check to write.
And so I'm like, I guess that's the only way, So
Yeah.
I put the order, and there's like all these fees with like such a large amount of money going through and stuff, and we're gonna like pay through PayPal, and I'm like, massive fees are like being added,
Yeah.
and that I was having to pay. And they're like, well, we could do a wire transfer, and I was like, okay, I haven't done that before.
Oh, interesting.
So I go to my bank. They give me all the info.
Were they like, by the way, do you know these people before?
Yeah, no, they have to ask you a lot of questions, especially like international wire transfers.
Yeah.
And like fraud and scams are huge with that stuff. And if you get anything wrong, like that money just vanishes. So I'm like, all right, it's a lot of money. Just go the first time wire transfer. I want to do it like with the bank. You can do it on your own, but it's best to do it with the bank so they make sure it goes through properly.
Yeah.
And so I send this money, get all the like paperwork printed out, and like it's legit, verification codes. Money left my account, and my contact in China was like, "Oh, we don't see it," and I'm like, "What?" Like, all right, well, let's give it a few more days. Maybe it's in limbo. It's a lot of money, and a month goes by, and they're like, "We still don't see it."
No way! Oh
and so
my
now
God.
I'm like, this is bad, because like, one, where am I going to get my screw from if this falls through? Like, I don't have a lot of extra money to, like, I can't do this twice,
Yeah, exactly.
And I also, like, I'm not sure I trust this company anymore. Like, what if they're just egging me on until they could get a large amount sent? Or does this person?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Does this person even still work for the company? So I started like looking into that, and everything.
Yeah, it's like get on a plane bad.
Yeah, everything was checking out, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I like went back and forth with the bank, my bank, and they're like, it was just a weird, like, nervous time of not sure what was going to happen.
Yeah.
But eventually it did go through, and the issue was I sent it in Chinese currency. Like you can pick US or Chinese.
Oh, yeah.
And because there's no fee if I send it in Chinese, whereas if I send it in US dollar, it was like a $45 charge.
Yeah.
And I guess that was the hang up, where like they couldn't find it, or it went somewhere
Oh,
different.
interesting. Yeah.
So I did get the screws, a lot of screws.
That's crazy. Well, I'm glad you got them. That's
Yeah.
nuts.
So that was one hang up. The other thing I'm currently dealing with, and if you call the business number, you'll hear in the voicemail. The voicemail says like, you're probably calling because you got a 50-cent charge on your account, and you don't know who or what the Williams key is, and you're calling about that. That is fraud. Call your bank. Your card has been compromised.
No way.
So here's what happened. Do you know? Are you familiar with Stripe? It's like
a merchant
it's a merchant processor. I create invoices through Stripe sometimes, and there's like this super long number. I think it's called like an API or something like that. And you can send money to it that goes into my Stripe account that can be sent into my bank account eventually. But it's like some random number that they generate, and it's linked to your account with them. So somehow card testing was done on this number, where they were like, I think it had to be a computer was generating credit card numbers and seeing if they worked against my Stripe number.
No way. So you were getting like this influx of all these random 50-cent charges and stuff?
So check this out. It was to the tune of $200 million in 50-cent charges.
What? Are you kidding me?
So this creates like a huge headache for me, because every bank in the world has a Williams key fraud charge now.
Holy shit.
And for every 50-cent dispute, the bank would want to charge $15. So that $200 million of fraud is turning into $3 billion of bank dispute fees.
Oh my God. So have you got a hold of Stripe and been like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah. And they've been really difficult. I hired somebody to like manage this, because I'm getting hundreds of emails a day, hundreds of phone calls a day from like just people thinking they're getting ripped off by the Williams key. And it's like, I've been totally like, not me at all. I'm not the one trying to rip you off. So yeah, I hired somebody to like try and handle all the phone calls and back and forth with Stripe and the emails and stuff. And they've had like their investigation team like working on it, but it's like always a different person we're talking to with Stripe. So this is like ongoing. And
my gosh.
Yeah. So for sure, like probably never doing business with Stripe again. That account is just blown up. And
dude, usually I have like, someone says, here's something I'm struggling with. And it's like something that I have some brain, like I can even share a thought. I have no idea. I have zero advice as to what to do in that situation.
It's slightly stressful.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's like national newsworthy. I mean, it's like, hey, this is like, I'm a small business. I'm a full-time fireman. I'm a small business guy. And I've got a $3 billion fine, as like of crazy fees associated with this. Some bad API token got issued. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's just nuts. So there might be like legal stuff involved with this at some point.
Oh my god!
We're still trying to get to the bottom of it. Stripe should be responsible for all of what's going on.
Yeah, holy cow! Well, really good luck to you on resolving.
The other
that.
thing
I have
is
no idea what to do.
Yeah, we told Stripe to like shut down the account. Like right away.
Yeah, just so you could like, hey, just stop the madness.
Yeah, and they didn't. They're like, no, we need to keep it open so we can figure out like what's going on. Meanwhile, millions and millions and millions of dollars are like being frauded through there. So yeah, it's just crazy. But yeah, I would say that's like something I've ran into that has been an issue.
Can you leverage that story for like if $2 million of friggin' transactions are showing up, and like everybody in the whole country would know who the Williams key is. I feel like, could you make a post that says who's the Williams key?
Yeah, check this out. Yeah, because millions of people were getting like williamskey.com 50-cent and the phone number on their bank statements, people were Googling Williams Key. And so it's like pushing the algorithm like insanely of my website. So I started, and I think it's like been trending and all that. And it's helped with sales. Like sales have been great, so that's like the plus side. But yeah, there's a huge downside to it too. It's just, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I can't imagine the stress associated, but I can tell you, I would be leaning in as hard as I could to capture the mind share of the millions of people that are learning about the Williams Key.
Yeah. So I've had to respond to lots of angry phone calls and emails.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's ongoing. I'll keep you posted on that one.
Please do.
Or you might hear about it.
Dumbfounded and speechless for a long time on this show, but I have fully melted my brain from surviving jumping out of buildings in Haiti and not getting crushed to becoming a fireman and building this amazing tool to somehow being involved in this mix-up that's got $200 million worth of 50-cent charges in your account. Yeah. Oh my God, this is the craziest story. And I am so glad to have been able to chat with you here on our show today. So, yeah, if I look forward and like, God, I don't even know how to ask the question. What's next?
In what sense?
In your world, like, are you product? Are you business? Are you fire service? Like, where do you go from here? You've got this amazing and engaging story and this really cool mission and this not-for-profit. And, how do you plan your next moves from here? And what are you thinking?
Well, I'd like to continue growing Williams Key. I think it's a really strong brand. I think it's like getting to the point of being a household name among first responders and whatnot.
And 200 million other Americans that are.
Yeah. Now it's definitely a household name, but a big scam. But I'd like to get to the point where the logo is recognized, like just the keyhole skull. And you see that and you're like, oh, Williams Key, kind of like Nike. You see the little swoosh and you're like, oh, that's Nike. You don't have to like type out the name of the company, you just know, or like Apple or whatever. So that's, what I'd lean towards. I think, keep developing stuff, keep making better products.
Do you want to expand the portfolio?
Changing. As far as tools go?
Yeah, like, is there a Williams Key 2 or is there another, one of our employees made a multi-tool in college and sold like a gazillion of these things. And like the multi-tool market's like a whole thing. Are there other tools in your, I don't even know what you call it, repertoire portfolio that you could continue leaning into?
Well, the platform was just the Williams Key. And once that became like a trusted, proven, like, hey, this is working, this is a good company, I made like 10 other tools. So,
oh, really?
And it's stuff that like normally you wouldn't be able to like push by itself, but because the brand is trusted, now I have the platform and the followers where if I make something, like, people want to check it out. So for example, this is a door hanger and you hang this on the door after you make entry and it just says 911 was here. And it's if they weren't home. Right, like your smoke alarm was going off. So if you don't break
the door down, yeah.
But like if you come home and like you see footprints on your floor, like we're firemen, we're messy, right? We're gonna leave like probably some footprints or knock over a plant or do something we didn't even know we did. You're gonna come home and think you got robbed, and it's like unsettling. And now you're like you don't know what was going on because you came home and maybe we just turned off your smoke alarm or we made entry into the wrong building. And especially if we do damage, like then you definitely want to leave something like that because your like security door is bent now, and like, oh shoot, like somebody really wanted to get in here. So that's a product, and I sell those by the thousands to departments, and they can put their own logo on it. Like we do that for free if you do a large order.
That's awesome.
And that's just like an easy thing. Customer service, you carry it on the rig, you hang it on the door once you leave, and you could put a note on there or an incident number or whatever. It's like a nice thing. So that's one thing. For inward swinging doors, we have the inward door slip knife, and I partnered with the firefighter swipe tool on this. So this is just a piece of plastic that slips around an inward swinging door frame. And
Mm,
between this and the Williams key, you have like inward and outward swinging access. So a lot of people
that's
buy those
awesome.
two things together. And this is easy to keep in your turnouts. Like it's like an M&M case.
Yeah,
Um, what else do we have? A wedge. Like everybody has a wedge, right? So I made my own unique wedge where this glows in the dark. It's the keyhole logo,
that's
and
awesome.
it's like something I designed myself, and it's unique. Like you can't really rip it off because it's my logo, right? So it's a unique
Yeah.
wedge. It's lightweight,
As you're
but
as you're kind of building this portfolio and this business out, like what's the how are you going through, like, you got to find someone to make a wedge, you got to find someone to do the printing. How do you approach these new types of problems that you have to solve?
yeah. So I make that myself. Like I learned how to 3D print. I went through multiple types of 3D printers, resin printers, filament printers, and then I got into molding. Um, and I learned how to do that. And so now this is made with like molds. I'm mixing the epoxies. I'm mixing in the glow powder, like finding the ratios, putting them in a
That's
pressure
cool.
pot, curing them, cleaning them up. Um, and that is time consuming. So these are like not one that I'm pushing hard because I can't keep up with demand if they like start taking off. Like I've gotten requests for like, I need 500 of these, but I need them like in a few weeks, and I'm like, nah, I can't do
Yeah.
it. Um, so that stuff I'm trying to outsource or find somebody who can make those for me.
I've had this idea that I think would be really cool. And I don't know if this is a good podcast material or not, but I really want to get all these people we've had on the show together and have like an annual summit, like a 24/48 summit. And we do like I don't know what, there's got to be a way that these businesses that are first responders that support each other. Some of these guys have extra manufacturing capacity. Some of these guys have extra graphic capacity. Like there's all, and gals, it's not just guys, but there's so many businesses in the space and there's so much unique stuff going on. Like, and nobody really competes in this industry. There's so, like, everyone's got a unique bespoke deal. Maybe the leather guys, there's a few people do the same leather stuff, but generally speaking, like, I think there might be a unique way to weave some of these stories together of these brilliant first responder innovators that are trying to do good in the community and limited by the growth, capacity that, they're, I'd love to do that someday and like have this master symposium or innovation
yeah,
weekend or something. I think it'd
that'd
be
be really
cool.
cool because I've learned from like Door Jam. Steve is the guy who makes the Door Jam, which is the rubber thing that goes around the door, and he's made a Williams key version for me. And we met online. And turns out we live near each other, so now we've like
Oh,
met
no
a
way.
bunch of times, and now we're friends. And
That's
he's been in
awesome.
business longer than I have, so I get advice from him sometimes, and vice versa. And the same with the fire swipe. Bill from New York, who does the fire swipe and partnered with me on this. Um, he's been in business a long time too, and so everybody has like different advice, and like none of my stuff is on Amazon, for example, and I've been advised by a lot of people I should be on Amazon, but at the same
But then you got to
time,
keep up with production.
yeah, and I also like where I can talk to the customer and get their email and they get on the mailing list and that sort of thing. And I feel like stuff gets ripped off on Amazon a lot more easily. Um,
Yeah, that's true.
so I'm like a little concerned about that, but there's plenty of guys who do it, and they're like, and it's great, and you should do it too, and here's how to do it, and so there's always like,
Yeah.
we're always looking out for each other. It's a
What would
brotherhood.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it really is, like, in the fire stations brotherhood and in the business world, it can be as well. I'm curious what sort of advice or what sort of support would a business like yours or you personally, what do you need in your business today?
Hmm, that's a good question. I'm always asking myself that too. Um, I don't know. Maybe like I think funding is always like the setback, but there's always
Yeah.
risk with that too. If I was like, oh, I need $2 million for like my warehouse and my equipment, well, let's hope that
Yeah.
you are able to pay that off, and like your business does good enough to like, you know, pay that off, so you can
Yeah,
get
that's
yourself in a
risky.
hole. Um, but I think that would be the biggest one. Like I've lost out on some big deals just because I'm not able to produce fast enough or at the scale that they want. Um,
Yeah.
so You raise a good question, and I don't know the answer. I think it's different for everybody, but probably for me, it would be like, yeah, unlimited funding would be awesome. Like,
Yeah. I feel like there has to be a symposium of like there has to be a way. Like as I'm learning this podcast, I'm finding all these people that like people struggle with the same stuff. And so like I don't know if I was talking to one of the guys that was like, man, I want to put a fund together that goes and invests in. There's all these ones that invest in veteran businesses, like veteran started businesses, and like putting a fund together to invest in firefighter owned businesses, or putting an advisory board together of business leaders that help each other grow in the public safety space where they understand the complexities of shift work associated in business. Like there has to be something we can weave together and help each other continue growing their businesses. Cause I think it's really interesting and really noble, the work that many of the people in this space do. And there's no need for anybody to do it on their own.
I like that idea. Yeah. Just like a burn foundation, but for
businesses. There has to be
businesses.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a lot of support out there for like certain groups, but not fire, as far as I know. So.
Interesting. I'll have to noodle on this some more. I think there's some cool stuff there. Well, Trevor, is there anything I missed that you want to tell the world about that you have the floor to share what you like, and then we'll wrap this thing up. And I can't wait to hear how the outcome of this crazy story goes.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, it was a pleasure being on the show. I know we've been working on this for a long time. Trying to meet up and get together, and I'm glad it worked out. I'm glad I was able to meet you, and I love what you're doing. The platform you're building, and the businesses bringing other business owners together, and you're getting some good characters out there. So you're getting some good quality interviews, and you got your studio. It's clean. Like you're doing it right. So I'm excited to see like where this goes and develops, because you're moving, you're on a good trajectory. As far as I go,
good guests like you as well. I certainly appreciate that. It's
thank you.
Fun to be part of it.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, and to your listeners, I am easygoing. Reach out to me if you have any questions about doors or locks, getting hired in the fire service, being a missionary, being a carpenter, being an entrepreneur, being a father, any of that stuff. You can reach out on the Instagram is probably the best way. The Williams Key on Instagram. But I'm on YouTube and TikTok and Facebook as well. And the website is williamskey.com. So any way you want to reach out to me, I'll try and get back to you.
Well, Trevor, thank you so much for being on the show and for sharing all about the Williams Key. We will catch you next time. Hey guys, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something. If you want to be on the show, or you know someone who should, head over to the2448.com and submit your business. Don't forget to follow and subscribe and give us a 5-star rating. If you thought it was 4 stars, still give us 5 stars, or I will find you. See you next time. Later.